G'day everyone, I just thought I'd drop back in and say g'day and just run through a Form 201 again. It's something that I get a lot of questions about and we are still getting a lot of questions about, so I thought I'd just quickly drop in with this one. Now you can't lodge the 201 anymore unless you're lodging it electronically through a service provider such as CCASA, but still understanding the form and understanding what we need is another way to be able to capture the data. So lodgement details, that's pretty straightforward. This is just about who is lodging the form. So that's where we would fill our details. So it'd be CCASA and all CCASA's details. The state or territory of registration, again, this is where you're principally going to run the business from. If you're based in WA, use WA. If you're based in New South Wales, use New South Wales, etc. Okay, so we come through to details of the company. Do you have a proposed name? The answer would be yes. We'd pop in here what the name is, and generally it's proprietary limited. We can use the full proprietary limited, or we can use the PTY Ltd. Same, but just depends on how you want the name to be displayed. So further details, let's jump into this quickly. Is the name identical to a registered business name, yes or no? If it is yes, then the directors or a director of the company must own the business name. So if you are setting a company out through us, and it's the same as a business name, we need to know that information. If you don't give it to us, we will come back and ask you anyhow. Special purpose company, okay. This is for special purpose, so trustee of a self-managed super fund or not-for-profit. We're going to be ticking this box here. So here's where we get to go through the governance of a company. Now this says public company, but again, it's the same with a proprietary limited. We would err on not using replaceable rules. You'd use your constitution. Please be aware if you're just jumping on and buying a company for $1 plus the ASIC fee online, that you are getting a constitution and you are not getting replaceable rules. So just always check that. Registered office, this is where the registers will be kept. Can be your home, can be the principal place of business, can be your accountant's address, your lawyer's address. It doesn't really matter these days, but do make sure that you put an address in there that you've asked for permission. So then we come through, does the company occupy the premises, which is this registered address, yes or no? If it doesn't occupy it, then you need to put in the name of the occupier and tick the box saying we've gained consent from the occupier. If the registered office and this address down here called the principal place of business are going to be the same address, then the answer would always be yes, they do occupy it because they're occupying the principal place of business. It's the same. So coming down here again, this is for a limited company or a public company, so we ignore that for PL. Principal place of business, what here do you want the principal place of business address to be? This is your head office, principally where you run the business from. If you've got more than one address, pick your favourite address, pick the main address, pick the head office, pop that in here. So appoint an office holder. A public company must have 3, but a proprietary must have a minimum of 1 director resident in Australia. You can see all that information here on the side, highlighted in blue. So be aware of that. We need to know if they're going to be the director and secretary or just director, their family name, the given names, former name if they have one, as per their passport, has to be a street number and street name, suburb and city, okay? And their date of birth, place of birth, and state or country of birth. If we don't have all this information, we cannot incorporate the company, and it must be as per their passport. This just gives enough space to appoint more. Ultimate holding company, out of the 11,000 plus companies we look after, and all the ones we set up, generally we generally don't see holding companies very often. Now here's where you pop into share table. If you're using replaceable rules, all the descriptions of these codes will all be in the Corps Act. If you're buying a company from us, we can tell you that ordinary will give you voting rights and dividend rights. If you're getting replaceable rules, you need to make sure you know what you're doing. So here's where you put the class code, so A class, ordinary class, the full title, the total number of shares, not to a person, the total number we're issuing to the company. I personally like to say 100, but everyone has their own opinions. The total amount on these 100 shares, I always say is $100, and the total unpaid is always 0. That's my personal preference. It doesn't fit every case and every example, but it is a fairly good choice if you're not sure. This here generally is just always going to be they've been issued for cash. Details of the members, here's where you go through. So family name, given names, or the company name. If you're doing a company, you've got to have ACN. Then we go through the address. Now, the address can be, you notice here it says or PO box number. This is the only time you can use anything other than a street address for ASIC. Otherwise, it's always street addresses, except in the case of a shareholder. So class code, so it'd be ORD, for example, the number of shares. This is why I like 100, because it's 100%. So you do, say, 20 or 100 or whatever. Amount paid per share, total paid, and we fill out all this information. The interesting one here is beneficially held. Yes or no? Where are the benefits going? Is this person or company that you've put up here getting the benefits? If they are getting the benefits, then the answer is yes. If they're not, because they're holding it in trust for another person, for a super fund, or for a family trust, the answer here would be no. Okay. As you can see, we can issue more than one class of code, one share class per shareholder. This just gives us some more space to put in more shareholders. Payment has been attached. Obviously, the way we do it electronically. Actually take the money out of our account as we lodge the 201. Happy days. Name of the applicant is an individual, corporation, or an agent, and then we sign here and we lodge it. One of the good things with ASIC is they do give a instruction or a guide. So it tells you there's no lodgement period. There is a lodgement fee, which is incorporation fee. Office holders' addresses must be their usual current residential address. Okay. An alternate address can only be used where we approve an application under Section 205D of the Corps Act. If you've got a restricted address, so that would be through the Electoral Commission, then you can use a restricted address. Otherwise, it must be their usual current residential address. This goes through and tells you about, obviously, replaceable rules and constitutions. It's saying here that a public company is out of a super trustee or charitable, must have a written constitution. I recommend at all times you must get a constitution. I do not recommend replaceable rules, but that's your choice. Just be careful. Company names, so it runs through a little bit of information there. Okay, so again, you can't lodge this 201 anymore. In fact, if you go to the ASIC website and try and find this, you will struggle to get a copy of this form. But thankfully, I've managed to get a copy of it so that I can just pop it up and just run through it. Anyhow, I hope that's been of some interest to you and given you some explanation. If not, please give us a call and touch base. Bye for now.